In part one of the videos that we just launched earlier, we talked about Inslee breaking the law and being formally exposed. However, in this video, I'm going to help teach you how to join the effort and crowdsource. It's kind of a movement that we're starting here in the state. Crowdsource the work so that you can help expose and help me expose other politicians in the state who are also breaking the law, just like Governor Inslee. Thank you for watching. My name is Glen Morgan, and this is We the Governed. And as I referenced earlier, there is a part one to this video series, which is me explaining how the Public Disclosure Commission formally sanctioned Governor Inslee for breaking the law and concealing properties and corporate ownerships that he had of out-of-state corporations from his financial disclosure documents that he's supposed to share and show with the public. For 3 years at least, he's been breaking the law. That's what we exposed. And I really want to mention, when I tell these stories, people think that they can't be involved or what can they do, they can't help. But that's not true. You definitely can. There are ways that you can get involved and make an impact. Because let me tell you, these guys have a lot of dirty laundry that they don't want us to know about. And despite the laws that exist on transparency and public disclosure, they seem to just repeatedly find ways to try to hide information from us or break the law, thinking that we won't pay attention or that nobody in the public really cares. That's not true. We do care, but it's not always that easy to find it, and it's kind of difficult to get through this process. And so that's why I started getting involved a number of years ago, and if you go down below, you'll link to one of my articles where I just simply list out all 76 of the recent politicians, judges, and PACs who have gotten financially fined and had to pay penalties for their law breaking that we exposed. And there's another 113 down there that have also been sanctioned for law breaking. This isn't just me saying it. This is formal rulings by the Public Disclosure Commission or the State Ethics Board. So that all starts, though, with somebody like you and I getting involved and caring about exposing the dirty laundry that they do have that they don't want us to see. And the truth is, there's probably quite a bit out there. There's probably a lot more out there even than I realize and that any of us realize, but we have to start doing the work to get out there and find it. So the question is, what else are they hiding? And the only way you can do that is if you look closely. And let me tell you, these guys don't want us to look. They want us to pretend that all is well and that they are above all of that, and they certainly are not. They're willing to do lots of crazy things. So one of the questions that people will have is, hey, you know what, we can't keep pretending this isn't happening, and I don't think it's good to deny reality. It's much better for us to get out and confront it. So then the big question, of course, becomes, what can I do next? What do you do? What can you do to make an impact here? And not everybody wants to be the guy like I am, filing these complaints and getting, the attention, not all of it good, for exposing what these politicians are doing. But there's a lot of work you can do behind the scenes. And even the Governor Inslee complaint that I had filed, some of that was information sent to me by other activists who had found some information and they just forwarded it to me. Actually, a lot of complaints that I have are originally sourced from that type of information. Somebody will send me something, and if it turns out to be true, I can do something with it. So what you have the opportunity to do now, I believe, is actually be part of a much more significant crowdsourcing effort. And I'm using a program called Trello to do this. I've just started to do this here, where we're going to be basically creating crowdsource efforts to dig into the financial picture of a lot of statewide elected office holders first. Because if Governor Inslee, as a statewide office holder, got away with this for so long, the fact is, probably the Attorney General Bob Ferguson, Chris Reichel, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Denny Heck, our Lieutenant Governor, Hillary Franz, our Public Lands Commissioner, all these people who hold statewide office, they are probably also doing something wrong. So if you go to Trello, this is a public page, Washington Politicians Exposing the Truth. We are just starting to launch this right now, and I'm going to encourage people to start digging up information and providing it to me. And the question is, what kind of information? Well, what we're really looking for, because apparently a lot of these guys are willing to conceal this information and it needs to be exposed, they're hiding this from their financial affairs documents. They don't want you to know the variety of corporate ownership and membership that they might have in other out-of-state corporations, sometimes out-of-country corporations, and there's a lot of public documents out there that you can find that will help you expose this. So we'll post their financial disclosure documents, and then we can compare that to what we find in from other public databases as we look around the country country and in other countries to see possibly what else these guys are actually hiding. Also, as we saw recently with Governor Inslee, unreported secret property ownership, owning property and then concealing it from the public. That is also not legal, and that is something that we can find by looking through property records, and not just in one state, but in other states. So perhaps they own property in other states and they're not reporting it on their financial disclosure document. Whatever it is, this is information that we can crowdsource. People can look around the country if they're better at looking this type of information and they're more comfortable looking up this type of information, then they can find that. And also concealed income grants and gifts. Oftentimes these guys are sent on junkets and they don't report gifts that they receive from special interests. This happens actually more often than not. And under Washington State's campaign finance laws, they're obligated to report that information in their financial affairs statements. So we look up and find trips that they went on and gifts that they received that they never reported to the public, and that's a legitimate basis for exposing the truth. Now, this is what we do with this information. Once we have enough information compiled, then that certainly justifies filing a Public Disclosure Commission complaint for campaign finance violations, which I have done in this case against Inslee and, of course, hundreds and hundreds of other politicians in recent years. So we file that, and then that starts the process of their investigation, validating the information that we provide to them. Then, depending on the nature of the information that we get, we may also be filing state ethics complaints and initiate other types of investigations, some of them federal as well, that starts with the information we compile, so that if we find other types of wrongdoing that these guys are committing, that starts that investigation process and they move forward from there. Then, of course, there's also the opportunity to write articles, produce videos, exposing the truth about what they're doing. This is really just part of this process, and a crowdsourcing effort in this way, I think, is a lot more effective way to get more people involved who are research-oriented and they want to help, but they aren't sure how. So if you're familiar with real estate, if you're familiar with corporate documents, if you know how to look up, if you're pretty good at using various search tools to look this information up, I think that you can actually make a big impact, and you will be surprised at what you find. The fact that Governor Inslee, the head of the state, our governor for many years now, right, and he's been there since 2012, and if that guy for the last 10 years has been willing to conceal and hide information from the public, knowing how much scrutiny that typically a governor's under, then if he's willing to do it, just think of what these other people are probably doing, assuming that nobody's looking at them. And obviously, Governor Inslee got away with it for a long time, so it's not like anybody's really apparently being assigned to look at this stuff. So it's up to you and I. Let's expose the truth. Let's get involved. It's kind of fun. Get together in a crowdsourcing effort and see what you can find. So reach out to me at We the Governed, and I think you're going to find that there's a lot more that you can do. And the more experience you get looking into this, it's amazing where the rabbit trails go and what you can find out about what these guys are doing. The politicians clearly don't want us to expose the truth. Obviously, Governor Inslee's not too happy about it right now, but he's not alone. And one of the reasons why I try to get activists involved in stuff like this is that this idea of civic engagement is a heck of a lot more than just voting. Voting is kind of that baseline minimum that you need to do to be an engaged and involved citizen, but if you really want to make an impact, you got to do a lot more than voting. And I like rallies as much as the next person, like signs, I love street theater. However, that by itself is probably not going to be enough to make the difference that you want to change. And people have different demeanors, they want to do different things, and that's why I teach these consequential activism training classes. And one of the things would be, if you would like to do research and you're not somebody that wants to go to rallies or freedom festivals or do a convoy event or just get out and help political campaigns, and you're just interested in doing research, this is a great activity to get involved in crowdsourcing. Who knows where it goes from here? There's probably a lot of interesting things that we'll uncover in this process. You get a chance to meet other people, even if just remotely, and start to compare notes, and who knows where it goes from there. It's a lot of fun to have a marshmallow roast with friends, and as we're roasting politicians at the same time and bureaucrats, you just never know what friendships can come out of that. It's usually going to be a good thing. I will point out, though, however, don't expect to have some big fancy celebration at the end of the day. This is stuff that tends to happen quietly and doesn't get a lot of attention other than the attention that we bring to it. So I just think that you should have a fairly realistic approach, but among friends and among those other activists who also care about these issues, people who care about transparency and honesty in government, you get to celebrate with them and us. We all get to celebrate a job well done when we expose the truth about politicians that are clearly trying to hide it from us. Because if there's one thing we know about these guys, they will always break the law if they think they can get away with it. And it's going to be up to you and I to get involved and be engaged to prevent them from getting away with their law breaking. So if you want to learn more, go to wethegovern.com. I do have a number of links down below, and also a link to the Trello work, kind of the work share event, and just kind of that crowdsourcing effort that we're going to have. And you'll initially be able to see what's going on, and then make sure you contact me if you think you can participate in that a little bit more in-depth way. Make sure you send me some of the information that you find, and I can start posting it up there. There's really nothing to hide here. As we get the information and it looks like it's valid enough, we'll be able to post it up, and those will lead to PDC complaints and probably other types of investigations as well. And I just want to remind you, if you like what you see here, please feel free to share and subscribe, and don't forget to sign up for our free email newsletter down below. And if you didn't see part 1, go see that so you kind of understand what happens when somebody gets caught breaking the law, even at a relatively lower level. And go to my article down below where I document what's happened to many, many other politicians in the state. And remember, to be engaged and be involved, you have to show up, because the future belongs to those who show up.